I mean, there's going to be progress for police cars to be more powerful too. Get engine changes and shit as well. So, I mean, technically any car could be as fast as any other car, but I have ideas that are coming with the turf change shit that is going to help facilitate how stolen cars are more beneficial, essentially. But a stolen car, I mean, so one thing, for instance, is randomizing stolen cars. So if you steal a car, it might have a turbo type shit, is also something that is possible. But at the same time, it'll likely be for a certain type of car either way. Like, you know, if you go steal a fucking Comet, it's like, oh, well, it's going to be juiced. But yeah, I mean, the world should be in balance at stages because it's progressing. That's just how it's going to be, no matter what. But in saying that, I think, like I said, you know, the police numbers thing is a thing, but I don't think it should be like, hey, why don't we have? It's not balanced to have 10 people chasing one car or whatever. The logic shouldn't even be thought of like that. I feel like it's more like once we have more than 2 or 3 cars on one vehicle, it becomes very dangerous because you've got cars running through red lights, you know, hitting each other. It's high speed shit like that. It becomes like an NVL thing more than anything once it gets to a certain point in a chase. I feel like it's just like IRL. They'll even call chases off in some places once it gets to a certain speed. So I still think it's sensible to have some sort of like cutoff spike system allowed with no limit, but it would also be dependent on what is happening in the city. So it still doesn't make sense to me to have 10 police on one stolen car call ever, unless it becomes violent in some way, because you're escalating something, right? And you as a police officer, you don't want to escalate if possible. You don't want to make a chase become more dangerous type thing, which is also some of the logic. Some even in Australia they'll call off chases because of speed and shit like that. So it's not absurd to think like that, I feel. But you've also got to consider, like, why would you have 10 police vehicles in a 1080 chase when you're in an entire city and there's no other police to respond to actual crime and dangerous things? You know what I mean? There shouldn't really be a case where every officer is on one call like that unless there's violence or something like that. And I'm saying this not in a way that I've seen something, by the way. I'm just saying, like, you know, if that circumstance arises, that's the logical way I feel to look at it. Either way. Yeah, I mean, interference cars, I know, are also sort of ignored on the crim side. Like, you know, if 3 or 4 cars are involved, then what do the police do? You know, they've got more cars if it's only 3 on the chase. At what point is it like, oh, well, that's fucking stupid. We need to do something. You know, especially if the cars are hitting each other, that is violence. You know, when you consider it like that. So at that point, it is violent. You know, people would be calling for other police. Like I said, though, you know, I haven't. I want to feel the server and see what happens. So I'm sure there's things that don't make sense, and like I said, there isn't always somebody around that understands or is confident, I guess, in understanding the reality of the situation, which is, you know, it's a police station. It's a police force in a city. It's not necessarily a police force just for players. You know, it just depends on how in depth you want to be with the world. But if you want immersion from your police force, you need to consider more of that shit. And that's why I think the start of 2.0 and 3.0 worked a lot better, because that's what we encourage. You know, no run and red light type shit. if someone's injured, going in to get them out more than focusing on killing everything and shit like that. But